Our next staff story is Andrea Johns, who is our professional lead health visitor in East Cheshire, isn't it? Cheshire East, I always get it wrong. Thank you, Andrea.
So that button in the middle. That one. Lovely. Yes, hello everybody. I'm Andrea Johns. I'm the professional lead for health visiting over in Cheshire East. We recently joined the organisation, well, just over a year ago, wasn't it? 1 year on now, when we tupied over in 2015. I was just asked to tell you a little bit about my leadership journey, and I am going to concentrate on something that happened quite recently in my career. But I will go through just quickly what I did before, my journey from the start, which is quite long, I'm afraid. So I will whiz through it. I started off qualifying as a children and adult nurse, did the combined course at Alder Hey Hospital back in 1986 now, dare I say. And after that, worked in hospitals around the area. I worked in Arrow Park for a while, not far from here, and then I worked down in the Countess of Chester. Developed a real interest in public health. I was nursing children with all sorts of infectious conditions that are now preventable by vaccine. I was nursing children who had had serious life-changing injuries from accidents, and children who were coming in to have all the teeth removed due to tooth decay. And I really did develop an interest in public health and how we could prevent these taking place. And I sort of noticed that the health visitor really had that real opportunity to work with families right from the very start. So in 1996, I applied to become a health visitor. Very lucky that Wirral actually sponsored me to do it. So I was back here in St Cath's, 1996, about this time of the year, started my health visiting course. And it did look very different then. I had a bit of a shock when I saw it last year. Changed a lot since I've not been here. I've not been back here for a long while. I went to Manchester Metropolitan University to do my theory and qualified as a health visitor in 1997. I then worked down the road here at New Ferry for almost a year, and I was then living down in Cheshire East. So I moved down there to work in Crewe and consolidated my learning really for quite a long time in Crewe, quite a deprived area as a health visitor. And in 2006, we had a restructure and we brought in team leaders in the organisation I used to work in. And I became one of the first team leaders down there. So that was setting up a whole new structure, really, within our service. And I worked as a team leader, really, until we tupied over in 2015. Different areas, different organisations. We were tuping here, there and everywhere. And so I was still a team leader, but I was in Crewe and Nantwich when we tupied over last year. So, has it moved? It's moving by itself, is it? The thing I want to talk to you about today was my lollipop moment and something that happened to me in 2012. I went down to a conference at that time of year. It was about a year after the Health Visitor Implementation Plan. I don't know if you heard about the call to action. Yeah, I don't know how it's doing that. There was a call to action, it was the Health Visitor Implementation Plan. It started the year before, and we weren't an early implementer site where I worked, but we were very keen on keeping up with the early implementer sites, on inputting, they were doing all sorts of projects around really good working, implementing the Healthy Child Programme. So I was sort of going around to conferences and things and trying to keep up with them and see what they were doing, so I could implement it in my area. And I went down to a conference in 2012. I didn't really know what to talk about at the conference, but we were doing some work on the patient feedback challenge at the time, which was called the Patient and Family Echo. It was a patient feedback system where staff fed back about what patients thought about their service. So I made a little poster about the Patient and Family Echo. I was standing down in the conference down in Brighton by my poster, and who should come over but Viv Bennett. And Viv was really inspiration to me. She was the Director of Nursing at the Department of Health at the time. She was leading the call to action, the implementation plan. And she said to me, so can you just talk me through your poster, please? So I went through it, got to the end. And she said, oh, that's really, really good work. She said, mind if I tweet it? So off she went. I said, no. And off she went to the crowd on a phone tweeting. I'm standing there thinking, oh, Twitter. I'd never been on Twitter. I'd never been on Facebook. It was all new to me. So I went home and I joined Twitter. And this was, it may sound crazy, but this was my lollipop moment when I joined Twitter and really built up my leadership skills using social media. And it is a real, I don't know how many of you use Twitter, but it's a really amazing way of being able to connect with everybody within your service in a very professional way. So I have a very professional account. I tweet I can talk to anybody on there really, so I can talk to leaders of our profession, the Viv Bennett public health team, I can speak to the Institute of Health Visiting, Sarah Cowley, and I can speak to other service users on there. There's lots of service users come on now and they want to find out about what we're doing, how we're developing. I can speak to other health visitors, school nurses, social workers, anybody really. And you can have really good conversations about health visiting, about developing health visiting. And I've learned so much from there that I do sort of feedback to my teams. So about 2 years later, I was on Twitter and I was working as a team leader. About 2 years later, it became an opportunity to become a fellow of the Institute of Health Visiting. The Institute of Health Visiting was quite new, it was in its first year. And what they wanted to do was develop staff locally that could feed into the national service so we could all understand what was happening nationally, but also that the national leaders could understand what was going on locally. So I applied to become a fellow of the Institute of Health Visiting and became, it won't move now, became one of the first, fellows in the country, the first 25 fellows in the country. And that was a really exciting opportunity because it really was a way of working with a national team and being able to really develop the services around what was going on nationally. One of my first roles when I was down there was to set up a Twitter forum. So we didn't really have a place where we could chat at that time. There were wee nurses that were set up and there was different wee communities, for those of you who go on Twitter, you know what I mean. But there wasn't one for health visiting. So with the Institute, I set up a fellows group. We ran some Twitter chats, initially around commissioning. So we were transferring the commissioning over to local authority the following year at that point. This was sort of late 2014. And then we had a lot of conversations. We brought in commissioners on Twitter, we brought in health visitors, service users, had a lot of conversations about how to develop commissioning, how to influence commissioners, and when the time came that we would transfer over. I was having a conversation one night on Twitter about health visiting, I think. Viv Bennett was on there, and she said, does anybody want to come to a very special meeting in London? And so I thought, that sounds quite interesting. Anyway, a few days later, an invite came into my mailbox. It said, inviting me to 10 Downing Street. And that was to discuss the future of public health nursing because the implementation plan was ending the year after. I was looking at the 0 to 19, the integrated service, how we're going to take that forward, and how we could feed in locally to our different services, yes. So in December, I ended up down in 10 Downing Street. Couldn't quite believe I was there on a round table discussing the future of health visiting and school nursing with some very senior people in the Department of Health and with the Prime Minister's Health Advisor. And I did talk about what we were doing locally there, which was a really good opportunity. I talked about the parenting journey, which we were working on at the time. We've been working on since 2013, setting up the parenting journey over in Cheshire East. And I talked about how it would bridge the gap between 2 and 5, and also how it would build up that integration between early years and health. And that has actually just been released, it's been rolled out now. So it's really exciting for me to be able to see how that's developed. I remember when I was talking about it, although a couple of years ago, really. While we were down there, Viv Bennett asked us if we would like to come and help her because, unfortunately, somebody was ill in the Department of Health. It was the professional lead for health visiting, had to take some time off. So she thought because we were fellows and because we had a lot of knowledge and local knowledge, etc., we would be useful to go work down there. So she asked us if we could be seconded over for a period of time, particularly in the run-up to the election last year, because there was a lot of work to be done around health visiting, a lot of promoting the health visiting service. It was a lot of looking at local areas, seeing where the really good practice was and feeding that into the website, into the national team, so that they could see what was going on right around the country. So I went back and asked my trust at the time, and very happily they agreed to second me over. There was 4 of us went to work down there, so we're together as a team, really. And we had a bit of a big learning curve working down at that senior leadership level, and Viv supported us really well herself. You know, we would have regular meetings with her and she'd be asking us what we were doing, and but it was very much you're in here now, and we had a lot of work to do. So we were doing presentations on behalf of Public Health England, we were blogging, we were doing Twitter chats, all sorts really, anything to do with the promotion of the health visiting service, all the health visiting weeks you see out there on Twitter. We were promoting all those while we were down there. Luckily, the secondment did carry on a lot longer, so when I moved to Wirral very kindly agreed, without question really, to carry it on, because I was quite concerned it wouldn't happen when I moved over, but no, I think they were really keen on it being part of my learning and part of my developments. They did support that for me, or not they, us now, now we've moved over. So I say after the election, this secondment was supposed to come to an end, but we looked at another role for us then in developing the transfer of commissioning. So we brought in some school nurse advisors then, so health visitors and school nurse advisors, and we advised on all the sort of documents that inform the local authority now around health visiting. So the high impact areas have recently been released, the updated ones, we worked on those. We worked on infographics around immunisation, troubled families, etc. And the new big infographic on the 0 to 19 service, people may have seen. We're responsible for working on that as well. All sorts of things, really, really exciting things to do. And the 0 to 19 service specification as well, we were part of. So right up until March last year, we carried on just supporting the transfer of commissioning and helping the national team. They're quite a small team. I think you think they're going to be some big operation. You know, they moved to Public Health England. There aren't many of them. They do need that support from people out in the community as well. And part of my role there was to launch the We Health Visitors site. Who's been on there? But if you go onto it, you'll know We Health Visitors. We launched last July, and we've got way over 2,000 followers now. Maybe even more. It goes up every day. And that's we have Twitter chats again. We talk about the health visiting service. We give out information, but we also, it's like a community really, so service users, etc., can feed in and be part of it. And that's going really well. So for me, really, at the end of the secondment, at the very end of the secondment, we set up some regional networks, which luckily my team, my senior managers and everybody came to, and that was to try and connect the local areas with Public Health England moving forward so that we could all be able to feed into policy, but also be able to feed policy into practice, so we can work both ways. So we do have, in Cheshire East now, we have a very good connection with Public Health England for all the senior leaders there, really. And I still have a connection in, I'm still a visiting advisor, so I'm able to help and support the team when they need it down there. But for me now, it's developing my role here sorry, it's back one, isn't it? In Cheshire East, but my role within Wirral Community Trust. I'm doing that at the moment by my professional lead role. I've taken charge of the Facebook page, which we've just released. So I think that's with my social media skills. It's working with the Facebook page and working with clients on there. But also I do use my Twitter a lot as well, around the Commissioner's reports, about learning and development, and getting guidance. We can get it as soon as it comes out. And I do collate all the information for the Commissioner's quarterly reports from Twitter, which is really useful. And really carry on whatever I can do with my professional lead, sharing out the guidance with health visitors locally. But I do consider my leadership journey within this area to be quite new within this trust, really. Although I've been around a long time, I consider myself to be quite new to the leadership, and that's why I was really pleased to see this leadership model, the Leadership for All. And I just put a few of the sort of ways I've mapped myself into the model on there. And that was really useful when I did my appraisal, I thought, to be able to articulate where I am. Being new to the organisation, I wasn't sure who knew me and who didn't, and where to go to outside Cheshire East. So I do march about saying, you know, I'm a key generalist. No, I do use it really, because I think it can be really useful for your development and also for the development of the staff that you lead. So on the next one, yeah, I just had a little bit of think. I thought I was quite lucky to have support, a bit of a helping hand really, from someone who really inspired me. And I think we need to think about who we inspire and support. And we can do that via the Leadership for All, because we'll know who they are, won't we? They'll be on the talent map. So the innovators, the specialists, the researchers, the authors, let's just give them a hand if we can. And I know we're all busy, but just 5 minutes here and there might make all a difference to them. And we could be part of their lollipop moment. Because as Viv Bennett has said to me on that day, back in 2012, oh, Andrea, you won't believe it. In a few years' time, you'll be a fellow of the Institute of Health Visiting. You'll be working at Public Health England. You'll be collecting thousands of people on Twitter. You would have had to pick me up off the floor, and I would have been, who's she talking to? And I would have said, what's a fellow? What's the Institute of Health Visiting? And what's this Twitter all about? So please, dream big, inspire others. Don't overlook any opportunities that come your way because they seem too small. You never really know where they're going to lead, and you really do never know where you might end up. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Some great examples of connecting your service there and sharing the vision. Absolutely fantastic, and how you can do that externally from the trust as well as internally.